I want to talk about Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon's seemingly untimely death by the state of New York and talk about it from a spiritual perspective. A lot of people are really upset on TikTok about their death. If you haven't heard about these two beautiful animals, I'll tell you the story that I've heard. And I've seen videos of them along with their owners. Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon were living with a couple who apparently didn't have the proper permits to be housing wild animals. But apparently Peanut and Fred had over 1 million followers on TikTok and people really enjoyed their videos. And you can tell that these two animals were very, very loved and very well taken care of. And according to viewers, a woman in Texas decided that she was annoyed by the fact that these people didn't have the proper permits, and she called the state of New York and told on them. Apparently, the state of New York came in and seized the animals on top of questioning the wife about her immigration status. You know, just something extra to do while they were there. Not only did the state of New York seize these animals, but they almost immediately euthanized them, saying that they could potentially have rabies. So instead of quarantining them for 10 days, they just chose euthanization. And there was a judge who signed off on the order to do this. All because this woman in Texas decided she didn't like that these loved animals had a place that wasn't properly permitted. Now you can probably tell, I think the whole thing is really messed up, but I want to look at this and talk about it quickly from a spiritual perspective. How can we keep our peace about this and come from a high frequency place while also supporting this family who is devastated by the loss of their furry family members? And all of the fans of Peanut and Fred who lost them on social media. As I've said many times before, we live on a planet of duality. There's good and bad, right and wrong, light and dark. And we come here as souls to experience both the good and the bad. You can't know good for real if you've never experienced quote unquote bad. We learn what we like and what we don't like by experiencing opposites or contrast. So in order to experience light, there have to be people who are willing to play the roles of more darkness. And that can be really hard for egos or consciousness to understand in this planet. We don't like how that feels. It affects our emotions when we feel this darkness. And since everything is energy and vibrates at a particular frequency, obviously these darker things vibrate at a lower frequency, and lower frequency things just don't feel good. So people who have learned about this story are getting involved in this issue emotionally, and that's what's causing it to feel so yucky. Instead of looking at it neutrally and understanding that people will do things like this and worse, and things like this will happen on this planet of duality where there's always going to be good and bad, until and unless the planet ascends to a higher frequency, they're getting tied up in the event emotionally. And they're allowing it to bring their emotional frequency down. So keep in mind, we get to choose at every moment our state of vibration. And if you're on a spiritual journey, controlling your vibrational state should be one of your number one things that you do. No one outside of you can force you to feel any particular way, and no one outside of you can make you have a different vibrational frequency. It is all done internally, and it starts in your mind. It's how you look and think about everything around you. You label it, you judge it. This is good, this is bad, this is awful, this is terrible, this is joyful. And then your emotions get wrapped up in the judgment, in the label that you have given any particular event. And I am by no means saying that what happened to Peanut and Fred is by any means acceptable, or anything I would like to see happen on the planet that I live in. I'm not allowing myself to get angry or wrapped up in it emotionally. I'm being responsible for my vibrational frequency by not allowing myself to go there. Will I sign the petition to the state of New York telling about the outrage that this event actually happened? I very likely will, because I don't want to see things like this happening on my planet, because I want to have a planet of love where everyone lives by the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But am I allowing myself to get engaged in it emotionally? No. And that's where I draw the line. That's where I place my boundaries in order to keep my peace. So while you can take action, it doesn't mean that you have to become emotionally involved in any given situation around you. You can, quote unquote, fight for justice without being emotionally entangled in it. If you think that seems like something that's impossible to do, to see some sort of injustice and not become angry or enraged about it, well, then maybe this video is not for you. But I'm talking about people who want to learn how to live from their higher self, from a higher perspective, and in a way that brings them more peace in their lives. See, this journey, this thing that happened to Peanut and Fred, this is not a surprise to their precious souls. And you can refer back to the video that I made earlier called There Is No Such Thing as an Untimely Death. Their souls knew that this could happen, and they may have volunteered for such a thing in order to help spark awareness and change on our planet. Maybe they wanted to help bring attention to the matter of animals not being treated fairly. It could be any number of reasons, but their beautiful souls had a purpose in all of this that has happened. And it's their journey and the journey of those who were part of their family and who loved them, for all of the lessons that their souls will learn. And that includes learning how to forgive and how to walk in love even when other people don't. And from what I have been hearing on social media, the person who turned in Fred and Peanut sounds like she's certainly receiving her lessons from other people who are not happy with this situation. And that's fine. That's for her and her soul growth. So in summary, we can see any kind of event around us that we don't like and choose for ourselves how we are going to act or react and how we are going to let it affect or not affect our energetic frequency and our emotions and our joy. Because peace can only come from within, and it starts in our mind. It starts with our thoughts, with our beliefs, and with our attitudes. You're not going to find it outside of you somewhere. So I guess the real question to ask is, what do I want dictating the way I feel? The events and people and things outside of me? Or do I want to be the one in control of my peace and my emotions and my spiritual journey?